Right, this is part 10 of Federalist number 2. This is probably the last part because we just have one paragraph left. It is worthy of remark that not only the first, but every succeeding Congress, as well as the late convention, have invariably joined with the people in thinking that the prosperity of America depended on its union. میگه تمام اونایی که sorry, I'm still in the translating into Farsi mode. That's what happens when you spend a year just thinking about this on translating something into another language. Anyways, he says that the Continental Congress and the number of years that it served as your Congress and the people who went and as your delegates to the Philadelphia Convention to write this Constitution, all of them know that your prosperity, your well-being, in every sense, depends on you staying united. To preserve and perpetuate it was the great object of the people in forming that convention, and it is also the great object of the plan which the convention has advised them to adopt. When you perpetuate something, you continue it, you make it continue, you make it last longer. Okay? It says that the whole purpose of these patriots, these people who love their country, they wanted you to have a union so that you can stay strong, be able to defend yourself and prosper, not only in this generation, but the next generations. With what propriety, therefore, or for what good purposes are attempts at this particular made by some men to depreciate the importance of the union? It says, how come then there are some people that at this juncture, at this time, when he says at this particular, he's talking about at this particular moment, why are these people still wanting us not to be united? Or why is it suggested that 3 or 4 confederacies would be better than one? Why do these people say that we got to divide these 13 states into 3 or 4 confederacies and then you'll have a better union that way? That is not true. That is asking for trouble. I am persuaded in my own mind that the people have always thought right on this subject, and that their universal and uniform attachment to the cause of the Union rests on great and weighty reason, which I shall endeavor to develop and explain in some ensuing papers. He says, however, I have trust in the common sense of the people that they, for the most part, want to stay in the Union, want to stay united. And if you let me, in the ensuing papers, in the papers, next few papers that I'm going to write, that's what he's saying, I will explain them to you. Now remember, John Jay ended up only writing 5 papers because apparently he got sick and he couldn't get well enough to write any more papers. Then he continues, they who promote the idea of substituting a number of distinct confederacies in the room of the plan of the convention seem clearly to foresee that the rejection of it would put the continuance of the Union in the utmost jeopardy. It says if you break these 13 states into different confederacies and not into one union, you're asking for trouble, because in the future these confederacies, their safety will be jeopardized. They will go to war with one another. Other empires will play them and will fool them to go against the other confederacy to keep all of them weak. That certainly would be the case, and I sincerely wish that it may be as clearly foreseen by every good citizen that whenever the dissolution of the Union arrives, America will have reason to exclaim, in the words of the poet, farewell, a long farewell to all my greatness. Here in the last line, he talks about, he quotes a line from Shakespeare's in Henry VIII. So he says, if we American people fall prey to the foolish comment of these people who are telling we have to have confederacies, we have to have 3 or 4 different confederacies out of these are fools, because before too long we will be at each other's throats, we will be fighting with one another, and we'll become weak, and then we'll ask help from the British, from the French, from the Spanish to help us so that we won't be dominated by the other confederacy here. And before you know it, everything will fall apart. We won't be able to create a union. And if there is any greatness that were to come to us if we stayed united, we have to say farewell to it. We have to say goodbye to it. This is the ultimate foolishness, he says. This portrait of the convention gives you an idea. This is one of the few times in human history that different people, different representatives from different states with different interests got together and created a union. Of course, there are many weaknesses in the Constitution. We know that's why the amendments were added. We know the question of slavery was not solved. We know that it led to a civil war. But this is not an imaginary get-together. This is a real get-together. This happened in 1787. They got together and created a union, a federal union. Now we can do the same. These people, even though John Jay in this paper says we're of the same heritage, for the most part we're Christians, he says all these things, but the reality is that we're all human beings, and that should be the most important thing we focus on. At the rate we are going forward, at the rate we are consuming, at the rate we are damaging the planet, it will jeopardize all of our lives and happiness. It won't matter what language you speak. It won't matter which part of this globe you're from. It won't matter what color you are. It will affect everybody. United States right now, this past 2 days, city of Houston, 4th largest city in the United States, has been dealing with flooding due to the hurricane. Now these events are going to happen over and over if we don't treat our planet right. And they will not. These hurricanes, these bad weathers, these catastrophes will not say whether these people live in Iran, they live in the United States, they live in a part of Africa, they live in South America. It will damage everybody equally. And we as human beings have to get together, come up with a plan, unite, and take advantage of our full humanity. Let our genius and humanity flourish the way it is meant to, and we will find solutions to a lot of these problems that we will be facing in the future. And we will also be giving a big thanks to the Creator of the universe, which has given us this beautiful planet as a home. So I hope you keep those in mind. We will talk soon when we start Federalist number 3.